and welcome to this week's episode of the CI Sports Zone. I'm Christopher Husling with a whole slate of people joining with me today. Woo-hoo! We got Thomas Garverick,
Let's go.
Jonathan Michael, and Patrick Michael Cunningham III. Fellas, once again, great weekend of football. We're starting off here with some of the local high school games. And is there anything you guys want to preface with before we get rolling here? Or
Well, we're going to talk about the Olympia Murrah Forsyth game. I just want to put this on record. I literally called this game last week. It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah, exactly.
10 seconds into the show.
10 seconds into the show. I was so excited. I cannot wait to talk about that game.
Well, one thing I will say is that running teams win in October and they win in November. Two of the teams that we're going to talk about, Peoria Notre Dame and Olympia, two ground and pound teams, put up some of the biggest wins all across Central Illinois in Week 7. So that was kind of the overall theme of the week is what I saw.
All right, well, getting rolling here with our high school recaps from the this last Friday. We're going to start off here with Bloomington at Peoria Notre Dame.
This was definitely the most shocking result of the week, in my opinion, for sure.
When I showed up to that game, I was on the far side of the field away from the only scoreboard, and it was about 40-13, but I couldn't see who it was, and I read the scoreboard wrong. I thought it was Bloomington, and when I saw that it was P&D, I was shocked to say the least. I wouldn't have been shocked if they won the game. It's how they won the game by 30.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns from Jay Marizets. Ben Lutz had 3 as well. Dallas Harder had 2 more. And, really the big thing for P&D right now is, again, obviously, they're a little bit of a smaller team roster size in the Big 12. But, again, they still got a good amount of running backs that are still healthy and being able to run the football. I know that was a big thing when I was talking with Pat Armstrong before the season is how long can they stay healthy? Can they stay healthy for the rest of the year? And, so far, looks like, a lot of their main guys are still on the field and, doing great things. So that's great news for P&D. Again, obviously, you don't want to see anyone go down, especially at this part of the season or at all during the year. But the thing about P&D is they have so many rushers. They go 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 deep in terms of their running attack. So, yeah, they just grounded down Bloomington, and that was a huge win for P&D, who's now 5-2, and they are definitely playoff eligible.
And, Jonathan, you talked about it. It took us 7 weeks, but we finally got true fall-like football weather here in Central Illinois.
Yeah, it was so beautiful.
It was awesome. I got the vest on today because it's finally chilly. I love it, but you said it. The teams who could run the football are the teams who had the big surprising wins. Again, we're going to talk about Olympia and what they were able to do. But that is the name of the game down the stretch here, is when you can run the football and control tempo, control the clock in these colder temperature games, especially when we get into the postseason, those are teams that are going to be tough to beat in the playoffs.
Well, and it's just so demoralizing as a defense when you have to face that kind of team. When you're facing a team that will go, they're going to go for it on 4th down out of that kind of offense, and they just need 2.5 yards every play, run down the play clock. I mean, it's just got to be so demoralizing for a defense when you just really have no answer for that, and they just burn clock and just break down your will to stop them.
Yeah, and I had a football coach one time, kind of building off what you were talking about, Patrick. He was telling us that, you only need 3 yards every play. Yes. So if you can, no matter what, gain 3 yards in your run game, your offensive line is getting a good push, which I didn't watch the whole game, but watching some of those clips in there, Peoria Notre Dame's offensive line was moving that line of scrimmage. So if you can move the line of scrimmage 1 yard, your back is bound to fall for at least 2 more. So there's that 3 yards you need, and every 4 plays you're gaining 12 yards. That's a first down every time. So, and as you guys said, it's just demoralizing when someone can just do that to your defense, literally the whole game. So, kind of a little bit of a closer game that we were also looking at is this. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, Thomas, the Murrah Forsyth versus Olympia game, as I hit the right button to pull that up here. Sorry. I'm still getting used to the four cameras set up. The buttons are in different spots.
Full house, baby. Full house.
You know what, guys? I will say this year, that was by far the best atmosphere for a high school football game I've been to all year.
Thomas did text our group chat.
It was electric,
this
man.
Is awesome.
It was awesome. You saw the student section. It was a wide out. But the whole community was out for this game because it was their biggest game of the year. And I think what was most surprising about Olympia beating Monroe Forsyth, who was ranked number 1 in 3A going into this game, was Olympia was losers of 3 straight games.
Yeah.
Coming into this one, and they controlled it essentially from start to finish. I was in the same boat as Patrick. When I pulled up to this game late in the second quarter, I saw 28-14, and I was coming in from the far side, and I'm like, there's no way Olympia's up 28-14. I zoomed into the scoreboard, and I'm like, Olympia's up 28-14. I texted Kurt and Patrick, and I said, guys, this might be a really special night for Olympia. So really great game for Olympia. Colin Simpson was unbelievable in this game. Just insane. So really cool moment for the Spartans.
What a cool little flea flicker type play there too. That's awesome. I love.
Yeah, that's the thing about this triple
option
option here is the fact that they have 2 quarterbacks who can throw the football, and so on that 2-point conversion, Colin Simpson pitches it to the backfield, and then they can have fun trickery plays like that. But Monroe Forsyth had no answers.
Yeah,
I was talking to fans at halftime; they could not stop him.
546 rush yards for Olympia overall.
I was going to ask if you had stats.
Yeah, Caden. It's easy to mix up. There's the 2 Cadens. There's Caden Collins, Caden Simpson. Caden Simpson had 4 touchdowns. Caden Collins had 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brendan Hardiman 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then Jimmy Lawler 223 yards. I'm not exactly sure if he had any touchdowns. I think all of his might have got vultured by Simpson, Hardiman, and Collins. But, all those 4 great athletes. And, again, we talk about, obviously, these 2 teams, Olympia, P&D, that really run the ball a ton. Going into the season, I knew that these were 2 of probably the most stacked offensive lines from top to bottom all around the area. So, again, it is no surprise to see that the offensive lines, for Olympia, that's, guys like Asen Aldis and Blaine Cale Haley and a lot of other guys for Olympia. For P&D, that's guys like Noah Takis, like Brady Mullins, like Mitch Sager, Jacob Cordy. I mean, those guys are really doing some great things week in and week out, and helping their teams to some of the big wins that obviously we're talking about here now because of those guys.
Well, and also like you guys talked about it with that triple option, that can be really tough to defend. We see with the service academies running it a lot, and it's all about discipline. And if you're the more disciplined team running the triple option, it's really hard to stop. You have 4 people, at least 3 people each play. You have to worry about having the football. And so
we should run the CI Sports Zone triple option with the 4 of us in the room here.
Just so you know, I'm the biggest advocate for triple option. That is real football.
I saw a really good video of this, like a college video of these guys who did like the tush push, and it was like going viral. It was hilarious. Like they knocked on a girl's door.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I did see that.
I'm like, that we should do that. That'd be so funny. But let's do a triple option style.
But yeah, back to what I was saying. Like, if you can run, if you're a disciplined football team, it's so hard as a defense to try to stop it. There's just so many different players and factors you have to key in on. And obviously with 500 rushing yards, it doesn't matter. That's just impressive. And you were just the more disciplined team that game pretty much essentially is what that kind of shows to me, just obviously seeing the score and what offense they're running.
Yeah, Monroe Forsyth, they were very frustrated. You could tell. I was on their sideline for a bit when I pulled up, and I could just feel the frustration. They're like, we can't stop this. There was no answer for it.
In a lot of ways, it's also the great equalizer when you're a smaller school. For like Peoria Notre Dame runs it too.
Yep.
They've got 500 kids. They're in a conference with schools like Normal Community's got 2,000. Peoria High, who always has a bunch of great athletes. Normal West always solid. Bloomington's on the come up again. And if you're just the more disciplined team, and kids today not used to seeing it, especially at the bigger schools, especially in the Big 12, and even down at Olympia, that's a much smaller conference. But a lot of schools don't run this anymore, and it's the further you get away from the 20th century, less and less are running it, which means you're not used to practicing against it, and you can practice all week long. Coaches tell you all the time. It's not the same as a team. You can't replicate it because the other team's running it all year. Your practice squad kids are like, I've never done this before.
Well, and also it's like with these smaller schools, you also don't have as big of offensive linemen generally. Now, you can still get – so they're also nice for the smaller schools who have those smaller, more agile offensive linemen who can pull – and you just don't really want them to set up against a 310-pound Alabama commit, whatever. You know, you get what I'm saying. You don't really.
Well, now Alabama's running direct QB snaps to their linemen.
Yeah.
Nick Saban's tweeting like, "Hey, are we going to do this more often or what?" But I will say, so Olympia's what 4-3 now, I believe.
Yes.
They're 4-3. They
So-
play Pleasant Plains this week, who's
Yep.
also 4-3. And so, you know, you got to refocus because
Yep.
both teams need this win.
Correct.
Their last game of the season is against a team that is 0-7, so they'd probably be playoff eligible. But man, they would love to be 6-3 to help them with seeding.
Absolutely. I was going to say, and even if Olympia gets in, let's say they're 5-4, that's a
They're getting
matchup.
in.
That's a matchup nightmare
Yes.
for whoever.
Well-
Now they're going to have to travel and go play somebody who's obviously very, very good. But I'm sorry, I would not want to see Olympia round 1.
Well,
Yeah,
fans,
well,
that
all-
happened a few years ago.
Yeah, well, also, I was going to say, Olympia, they've had some good playoff success. I mean,
Yeah.
back in 2022 and 2023, I think that they were like 5-4 one year, 6-3 another year, and both times they went to the quarterfinals. So, again, it's really, I think Olympia probably isn't going to be intimidated by who they face because, again, obviously, you know, Olympia will most likely probably be in Class 3A. Maroa Forsyth is number 1 in Class 2A. So, again, you know, Olympia, if they prove they can be, hey, we can beat 2A number 1, we can probably beat just about any team most likely in Class 3A. So, again, it's a Spartans team that is going to have a lot of confidence, I think.
Absolutely. I just want to say this really quickly. I've seen a lot of really good uniforms over the year. I love those powder blues.
Those powder blues.
And the
were beautiful.
Argyle
Olympia.
pattern on the helmet,
Yeah.
too, is really sharp.
And I told that to them on the sideline. I looked at them and I said, I'm a sucker for baby blue. And I'm like, those jerseys were so clean. Probably my favorite uniform combination I've seen all year. So shout out to Olympia. Heck of a win for the Spartans.
All right, well, kind of moving forward here, another game we all were talking about last week that we all kind of had big hopes for, and I watched this whole football game, and I really wasn't super disappointed. Was this
Now,
Washington?
Christopher, did you watch it on CIProud.com or
Of
the
course,
WME?
yeah.
of course, I watched it on CIProud.com. Best place to watch football is what I've been told.
That's
so,
right.
Kind of moving forward here with that Washington Dunlap game, which it was just very, very good football game. It got kind of interesting near the very end there. With
What a field goal. I love when there's a clean high school field
always.
goal operation.
And then some penalties at the end of the game that kind of got some people heated on the sidelines. But good football game, and I enjoyed watching it from start to finish.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, that's now 24 straight Mid-Atlantic wins for Washington.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah, which is unbelievable. Again, this was, I think, probably going to be their toughest one of the season. Now they still, I believe, got Morton in Week 9, so that should be also a good game. Morton should give him a strong test. But again, this really opened up the door for a third straight Mid-Atlantic title for Washington. Again, they relied on you-know-who, Will Freeman, over 100 yards and a touchdown again. For him. And again, Max Sutter for Dunlap did do his thing, 4 catches, 96 yards, but he didn't absolutely torch Washington. Again, Sutter caught a touchdown, made it kind of close, got a 2-point conversion, made it 23-15, but that Washington defense shut them down in the fourth quarter. Dunlap has, a couple third, fourth down conversions they just couldn't quite get. And, Washington defense kind of held strong. So both teams now 6-1. I think both teams, probably in the running to host a first-round playoff game. Dunlap, though, definitely has the tougher path. They need to find a way to bounce back and win, I think, at least one of two, if not both, against Morton and Metamora in Week 8 and Week 9.
Yeah, and watching that game, Freeman, the running back, so fun to watch as a high school player. He runs hard. He was running people over. I really enjoy watching a hard-nosed running back at the high school level. He's a big looking dude.
Well, what's so hard to defend about Washington, too, is they just wear you down.
Yes.
I mean, they are physical on the line. Their backs are physical, and they will run the ball, not as much as P&D and Olympia, but they will run it a lot. And I have seen it many, many times over the last few years where by the third, fourth quarter, teams are just gassed. Again, I wasn't at that game. I was calling El Paso Gridley Eureka on Friday. But if I had to guess, Dunlap defense was probably feeling it a little bit more in that third and fourth quarter, trying to stop Washington.
Yeah, and kind of our last game we are going to kind of talk about here is this preview. Jonathan, what are you looking forward to for this upcoming game?
Yeah, so this is our WMBT Game of the Week. This week it's Metamora at East Peoria, and now this is the fourth straight game. East Peoria has been right on the cusp Again, they're 4-3, coming off a loss to Morton last week. It was an absolute shootout, 66-32. They lost. Dalton Oakman, though, big bright spot. 5 touchdown passes in that game, over 300 yards. A lot of them to Aiden Hindert. So again, East Peoria, it is better than what they showed against Dunlap and Washington. So they're kind of getting a little bit more momentum again. So again, all eyes on EP to see if they can pick up that 5th win. But I don't want to bury the lead here. Metamora has been playing some really fine football over the last few weeks. They beat Limestone 49-13 last week, handled them pretty easily. They beat Morton in that shootout back in week 4, 43-40. It is an offense that, again, has always been pretty good, but I think this might be one of the better, if not best, Metamora offenses I've seen in my time here in Central Illinois since about 2019, 2020 or so. So again, it should be a great game. I think it's gonna be a lot of scoring, a lot of offense on both sides. 2 teams can light it up.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Metamora's offense is one of the most balanced in the middle line.
Yeah.
With Stephen Petrie at the quarterback position, Jadon Cranford at the running back position. They can beat you. They can grind out drives on the ground, but then they can air it out. Stephen Petrie throws one of the best deep balls, I think, in my opinion, in the middle line.
Yeah, he has been throwing it really well. Kylan McMillan, Braden Bittner have been making some big plays for Metamora for sure. One thing to keep an eye on is, again, I know the Redbirds have been a little bit banged up. I know their running backs especially. I think Keon Allen, Jadon Cranford, at least the past few weeks have been a little kind of iffy in terms of whether or not they're on the field. So again, we'll monitor that. We'll see see if they're in uniform on Friday night. But if not, that's definitely something. It might tilt the scales maybe a little bit more towards East Peoria. Could make it even a closer game potentially, but we'll see.
Well, and for East Peoria, it's a program that has just been on the cusp of getting back to the playoffs. This is going to be a desperate team the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
Haven't had a playoff appearance since I went back to their season summers. It's either 2012 or 2013.
2012, I think.
2012, yeah. And then I think if you look back the last few decades, they've only got 4 or 5 playoff appearances in the last 3 or 4 decades. They wanted this so bad. They've been on the cusp the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a desperate team that's going to pull out all the stops these last couple of weeks.
And also keep an eye, too, in Week 9, East Peoria plays Pekin. So if Pekin beats Limestone this week, which, again, I think obviously they'll be favored.
Sure.
Pekin only beat Kenton by 10 this past week, though.
Yeah.
So, but, again, if East Peoria does lose, again, they still got one more chance, and it could be a 4-4 Pekin versus 4-4 East Peoria. Now, if East Peoria somehow,
where's that game being played at?
That is at Pekin Memorial Stadium, which is also a great place for great atmosphere as well.
Yeah, I know. I've always been on record in saying Pekin their student section is always unbelievable. That would be a heck of a finale for Week 9. Basically, essentially a play-in game potentially to get to 5 wins to be playoff eligible for maybe East Peoria and Pekin.
Well, and just also from a logistics standpoint, it's one of the only grass fields left, and Week 9 always comes question mark weather-wise.
Yep.
You can get a lot of snow, wind, rain, something in Week 9 that just adds a variable to the game that just anything can happen.
That's what makes this time of year.
If we get snow in Week 9, I think I'd cry.
My second year here, or my first or second year here in either 22 or 23, Pekin had senior night Week 9, and it was 38 degrees and raining. It was awful. And a lot of teams now here in Central Illinois have senior night Week 1 or 2. And I remember Chris being like, who is holding senior night right now? I'm like, because you just never know what you're going to get weather-wise in Week 9.
My senior night in high school, it was like 20 degrees and raining, so I understand. But, my poor family was probably freezing out there. But that was I had never heard that. And then I was talking with Richwoods. I was doing a story on Richwoods, and their athletic director's like, yeah, next week's our homecoming. I'm like, it's week 2. So then I got back, and the first thing I did was I texted Patrick and Thomas, and I said, is this a normal thing out here? Or
it started to become one.
Yeah, I think after COVID is when I think the senior nights kind of started to get bumped up earlier in the year. Homecoming, I think, is usually more or less still around the same time of the year, usually late September. But yeah, that is one thing for sure. Senior nights definitely moved up earlier in the year.
Well, and
for not just football, for all sports, really.
Well, not just weather-wise. I've talked to a lot of coaches about it, and sometimes, Week 8, Week 9, you've got a lot on the line, and you need your players focused, so you'd rather have that game and a lot of the distractions of friends and family and extended family coming in to watch you, especially if you're a senior. Just kind of doing that earlier in the year in Week 2, Week 3, and by Week 8, Week 9, it's all about that game. For instance, if you have a 4-4 Pekin and a 4-4 East Peoria.
Oh man, you bring in a senior night.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Well, and then also I was talking when I was at Richwoods, they were telling me also you run the risk of people getting injured. So you also don't want a
that's a
senior
good
to
point,
miss his
too.
senior night because
Yeah.
week 4 he, God forbid, gets hurt, hurts his ankle or something like that, and can't play.
Sure.
So that's what they said, and that was another good point I saw. Well, kind of, Jonathan's a busy man, so he's got things to do, fellas.
Hey, no golf tournaments to head out to today.
Really quickly, Jonathan, obviously there's
Yes.
2 weeks of high school football left in terms of the regular
that's right.
season. Who are some teams, I know I'm putting you on the spot right now, who
Hit me.
you're like, hey, this week is a must-win for them to either stay alive or to be in the hunt or whomever. Who are the teams that have to have a win this
Well,
week?
for sure. I mean, yeah, Pekin is obviously in a must-win situation. They're at 3-4 right now. They got Limestone this week, East Peoria next week. I think those are 2 winnable games. I think Pekin can definitely get in there. As far as other must-win games, DMAC, they got a big win against Warrensburg Latham last week. They're now 4-3. Now Ridgeview Lexington, I don't know if that would say that's a must-win game. Ridgeview's been playing really good.
Yeah.
One that you'd like to have to avoid having to win in week 9. I think there's some teams I think that need to win for momentum purposes. Normal U-High, again, they won last week. They're 3-4, so they need to win out to get in the playoffs. Same thing with Elmwood Brimfield. They're trying to come back from a really tough loss to Ottawa Marquette. They had to go on the road to Macomb, which is going to be a tough one for the Trojans. So
That's a really
they are in
tough
a
game.
must-win situation this week as well.
I would say U-High, I've kind of said this all year, especially to Thomas in our newsroom. U-High at 3-4 is about 7 points from being 5-2.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had 2 losses early in the year by combined
6
4
points.
points, 6 points.
6 points. I looked at it right now.
2
Yep.
state-ranked teams. I mean, that is a much better team than their record
Oh,
suggests.
yeah. They're going to be dangerous in the playoffs for sure.
All right, well, before you get out of here, Jonathan, it's time for your favorite part of our segment here. We're going to take a look at our
up the
mascot.
brackets, baby.
We are down to the
We are down to the
championship.
final 2. So last week, IVC over Princeville. That was a very interesting finish as at one point Friday morning, IVC was up by 400 votes, and Princeville ended up losing by 100. So that was a
made a big
really
push.
good matchup. And then Elmwood Farmington beating Elmwood Brimfield. They kind of handled that matchup pretty handedly. So IVC and Farmington are going at it. I will be going down to both of those schools to be doing a little hype video for them tomorrow and Wednesday. So we're going to have more for that.
Nice.
IVC's off to an early lead so far, but as I said, Princeville pulled in 300 votes in 5 hours. So anything's possible. It's still, voting started this morning. Voting will go through Friday at 3 p.m. And we're going to hold on to the winners for about a week-ish so we can let the schools, if the schools want to do something. But we will announce the winners by next Friday, probably maybe before that, depending on what the school wants to do.
Okay, so
But
we will not be
we are
revealing.
not revealing this week.
Ooh,
We will
breaking news.
We're going to let it sizzle a little bit on the
I like it.
and get the
Look at
anticipation up.
Christopher.
So like I said,
Anticipation.
yeah. Next week we'll get those results out depending on what the winner wants to do, and then other than that, go to ciproud.com. It's under voting. Go click on the high school mascot. Let's see how many votes we can get this week. We had 2,000 last week, which was double what we had gotten
was
the rest of the
impressive.
bracket.
That was cool.
So it's really cool to see those numbers. So just continue to go out, show support, vote. You can vote only once for this finals round. So just go and get your vote. And
I'm really happy we're not revealing the winner this week because I am off this Friday. This is the one Friday I'm off. I'm going back to my alma mater, Ohio University, proud Bobcats. So I was like kind of bummed. I'm like, I'm going to miss the championship reveal. So now I get to see it
Don't
in
worry.
week 9.
I did this just for you, Thomas. I
And
knew.
that is why we are co-hosting the show.
All right. Well, we are going to get out of here. We will be back here with some college football. So thank you guys for joining us.
Bye, James Franklin.
Hello.